everybody. Our good brain. I'm a little scrambled today. Uh, at Eastern, I'm live here with Cowboys Greg. He was kind enough to come back on the show after we did a show exactly 1 week ago. Same time. We did same thing exactly a week ago on Monday. Preview show for Cowboys Niners. And then obviously the game happened last night and Niners won. But Greg still, was big enough man to, honor his commitment, come on the show, and really come out and talk to us today. So I really appreciate that, and thanks for coming on again, Greg.
No problem at all, Ted. I mean, I said win, lose, or draw. Well, it was a big loss.
Yeah, surprisingly, I'd predicted 24-21 Niners. I didn't think we'd break 30. I didn't think we'd hold you guys below the mid-teens. We did both of those things, so that is was a little surprising. But turnovers can do that, and we obviously forced, I think, 4 turnovers. We had 3 interceptions and the fumble recovery by Fred Warner as well. So that can make the game a lot different.
That was after Jordan Lewis had ripped the ball away from McCaffrey, and it was okay, yes, but the rest of the evening sucked, and it sucked from the opening kickoff. Why Mike McCarthy decided to defer to the second half is beyond me. You have a fired up crowd in Santa Clara. You have that offense. You don't give them the football first. You don't do that. You take the ball. But no. No. Mike McCarthy deferred. And I'm okay. And then instead of getting Tony Pollard out in the open where he had that one successful play in the fourth quarter when the game was over, they run him up the gut. What are you doing? What in the world are you doing? And again, this goes back to what I talked about last week with you, Ted. Coaching decisions are baffling, to say the least, and we see it all the time. And Mike McCarthy made some bad decisions right off the hop.
Well, I mean, I understand the logic of it, and I know Kyle a lot of times likes to defer to the second half. The wisdom is you try and get that score going into the end of the first half, and then
the Belichick moment. But I completely disagreed with that decision, and the opening 2 drives for the Cowboys, both 3 and out. I mean, it was just a nightmare to begin with. Exactly what I thought was going to happen. And then defensively, what's Micah Parsons doing over playing against Trent Williams? What was he doing?
That I did not understand at all.
Yeah,
especially seeing how successful TJ Watt was against McKivitz week 1. I figured the Cowboys would certainly line Micah up on the defensive left, which would be the right side of our offensive line, which is the weak side of our offensive line.
Yeah,
made no sense to me at all.
No, and it was a typical Cowboys performance in a game that matters. Because San Francisco and Dallas, I mean, you guys are only one more win than we have in our history. It's 20-19-1 now in regular season games. That's it. That's all. To see the way that the Cowboys played last night was simply disgusting. And Micah Parsons, when you said this after the game, I was absolutely stunned.
Me too.
I don't think they are at a higher level than us. Parsons told reporters after the game, I think we're the same caliber playoff team, same talent, same standards. I just feel like we need to reconsider and fix some things. The score doesn't really shape what happened out there. No, Micah, you're living in a fantasy world with comments like that. Bottom line. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I quote tweeted that the tweet out there, and I said, "Honest question, Micah, what color is the sky in your world?" Because I ask that to highly delusional people, and I get some really interesting answers out there on the timeline. Unfortunately, Mike didn't answer me back, but yeah, it's just typically good leaders tend not to say things like that. They typically try to put the blame on themselves and then move on and try and say we'll do better, instead of like just denying that it ever happened. Like, it's
well,
pretty
yeah,
wild. It's pretty
you
wild.
got your asses. You got your asses kicked. You should have shut your mouths and said, "Hey, we got our asses kicked." End of discussion. That's it. That's all. I don't want to hear any excuses out of the Dallas Cowboys. I have no time for whatever Dak Prescott said after the game. No time for what Micah said after that game. You shut your damn mouth. You go home and you fix what the hell happened. That's it. That's all. However, these are the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, because they're the Dallas Cowboys, have to say something, right? Well, no, you don't. You can tell these guys to shut up. But no, they got to go on and on about this sort of stuff, and it's ridiculous. And I've been fed up with this for forever with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones yet again, sticking with his guys that he's drafted. His guys never come up and play these games very well. Bottom line.
That's true. That's true. Real quick, just want to call out some folks here in the audience. We've got Red Jet Shell in the audience, James Durnall coming to us from the United Kingdom. We've got Jimmy Perez in the house, Randy Daytona in the house, David McNiner in the house. He has his own YouTube channel. Make sure you check him out. He was on with me last week as well. A really great show with Randy. We got 187 in the house. Big Purdy fan. He says Purdy, Purdy, Purdy. He'll be happy to know that I not only said that I was wrong about Purdy without any qualifiers about Brock, because I issued in a kind of a half-assed apology at first, I was wrong at first, where I said, well, but we haven't played any contenders and maybe only playoff pretenders, and then I quote tweeted it and I just said, look, I was wrong. No more qualifiers. Brock Purdy's legit, essentially. And then this
Brock,
morning I said, please accept my apology, Brock. You are a franchise quarterback. I consider kind of top 10 franchise. If
yeah,
you're not looking for another quarterback,
he is easily in the top 10 of the NFL quarterbacks right now. You see the dimes that he threw over the linebackers and safeties against the Cowboys to Kittle last night. I mean, they were perfect passes. What more do you want out of a quarterback, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
yeah, no, I mean there was the hospital ball to CMC. There was a couple that got batted. Happens to quarterbacks. Hankins
Yeah,
did a good job with that. And there was something else that I wasn't wild about. But yeah, I mean, if you're only talking about 4 out of 24 passes, that's pretty good, especially with a 144 passer rating. All those TDs. It was pretty impressive, no doubt about it. And the really one that really impressed me was that he threw the big completion to Ayuk on 3rd and 15, got called
yeah,
back due to holding. He turns around and throws a big one to Debo to the other side. That was pretty incredible. Got Julio Omo Sr. in the house. He says hi to you, Greg. He says, how about them Cowboys?
yes,
Also got
brother, yes, brother.
Don't Bother Me in the house. He says, what's up? It's a pleasure meeting. Oh, this is Steven. Yeah, I met Steven at a meetup Saturday morning. Wayne Breezy and John Chapman put together this meetup. And it was basically to film a music video for Wayne Breezy. So that should be coming out soon. Steven was there. He had the coolest 49ers hat with like these plastic shiny gold letters, and they were like kind of like buttoned on to the hat. And
Yeah,
man, I had serious lid envy with Steven. He was rocking a killer lid for sure. But great to meet you, Steven, and a bunch of other folks that day too. If anyone else is watching, it's great to meet everybody. But yeah, so I mean, I think 187. He's been on me for a while about Purdy, and the thing is, I'm saying I was wrong, but I do want to like at least give myself a little bit benefit of the doubt that like it's not like Purdy was playing like he played against the Cards and Cowboys when I said these things, right? I mean, he had played pretty well to end 2022. Obviously, we'd won a lot of games, but QB wins, I always say, is sort of a casual stat for casuals. In that, there's a lot of context behind it when you have the number one D, the best weapons in football, a solid O line, and Kyle calling the plays. Not to take anything away, but you kind of do take a little bit away
Well,
from
that's
somebody who has all those advantages compared
yeah.
to like say, he has a better passer rating than Mahomes right now, but Mahomes basically only has Kelsey. So I don't know. It's important to consider context, I guess, is the main thing. But yeah, I mean, Purdy is definitely a franchise QB in my opinion. I've got him between 6 and 9 now. I had him 14 to 18 when I said that he was mid, so that was 16, which is I think mid, medium, middle of the road, mediocre, average, whatever you want to call it. And then after the Giants game, because he finished that game strongly, I said, oh, maybe it's more like 11 to 15. After the Cards game, I said, oh yeah, maybe more like 8 to 12. And now I've bumped him up to 6 to 9. And you were telling me backstage, Greg, that in your top 10, you have Purdy as number 8, which is kind of right in that range I mentioned.
Yeah. And no, Dak Prescott is not in my top 10.
There you go. Mine neither. I had him 8 to 12 with Purdy. Obviously, this is knocking him down a little bit. Who are your top 10 quarterbacks, Greg, if you don't mind me asking?
Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Who else do I have in there? Oh, I'm trying to remember now. But those, the normal guys that you have above the others. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is obviously going to remain number one until somebody can knock him off his throne. And even yesterday, he still didn't look all that great. Against the Vikings.
He didn't. No. It was a lot closer than I thought it would be. But then again, Kelsey did get hurt. He hurt his foot and left the game for a while. So he went from one elite weapon to no elite weapons for a little bit there.
But again, that's the whole point of why I always say you guys focusing on that one position so much is wrong. It's dead wrong. If you don't have tight ends and wide receivers who are getting the ball and catching it, these quarterbacks are nothing. If you don't have an offensive line that can protect them, you're nothing. That's why everybody who hypes up the quarterback play so much is just dead wrong about the game of football. And that's the bottom line for me. It always has been.
There you go. McNiner said we had a pretty good game. Yeah, in all three phases.
Yep.
I would say the 49ers look great. I mean, all these acquisitions we had, whether it was our new special teams coordinator, I guess it was from last year, Brian, blanking on his last name, but he came from the Seahawks essentially. But, getting Ray, Oren Burks, George Odom, Wishnowsky, Mooney.
And our special teams took a hit because Turpin's out with a high ankle sprain, and CJ Goodwin is now gone for the year with a pectoral muscle.
Oh, that's a bummer.
So,
yeah, we're just hoping Aaron Banks' bicep isn't serious.
And we're waiting word on word on Leighton.
I think everybody's saying that's not that serious. Yeah, that's really serious. And knock on wood, prayers up for LVE. I hope that's okay. Necks and backs are nothing to joke around with.
Oh,
that's serious business. So
and when you saw that replay last night of his head collapsing against Micah Parsons, there, I was just like, oh no, like that is not something you want to see.
No doubt about it. We got Jess from East Coast Red and Gold. She has a great podcast with Maddie B. Bex and Ty Alston every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Make sure you check them out. She was just out here. So Are you still out here, or did you make your way back to the East Coast, Jess? I'm curious. I think she lives in New Jersey. Uh, Give us an update on your travel plans or updates. She's like a ninja. She, like, if there's a player or a coach or any kind of celebrity, she always managed to get a photo, selfie, some sort of pic with them. She's literally the best at that, and a
That,
huge
that
Kittle fan
sounds
like myself.
that sounds
So,
that sounds like a buddy of mine on Twitter who he lives in Los Angeles. He's a Chargers fan, and that's up next with the Cowboys. Um, yeah, he's always got the pictures with the celebs and stuff. It's just like, okay.
there you go. And as Kittle fans, obviously we were pretty excited. I don't know if I was saying it as early as Monday of last week, but I predicted a few times last week that Kittle would have a breakout game against the Cowboys. We do. It might have been later in the week. I'm not sure if I said it with you or not, but I'm sure Jess is really happy that he got the hat trick. I was elated. 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, pretty
Yeah.
incredible stuff, especially that first one, when you're so nervous and you're just hoping that something good happens on that first drive. And that was about as good as you could get, with 4 for 4 completions, some Cowboys penalties, 3 decent CMC runs, and just a pretty perfect opening drive from the 49ers. Randy says we can survive without Banks. I mean, we did last night. I don't know that I trust Feliciano, though. I mean, he's had a good career with the Bills and Giants. He's sort of a fringe starter, but Banks is a good starter. So and the Browns have a pretty good D line who we're coming up against this week. They obviously have Myles Garrett, who's up there with Micah, with Bosa, with TJ Watt as the best edges. But then they also picked up Zadarius Smith from the Vikings by way of the Green Bay Packers. And I think they have some pretty good D tackles too. So I'm pretty sure they have one of the better D lines, at least from a pass rushing perspective.
Oh yeah, and they have JOK who is back to being fully healthy in behind them as well.
Yeah, out of Notre Dame, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
And he's like sort of a tweener linebacker, safety, star type player, kind of like a Derwin James type, Jalen Ramsey type, but a little bit big for those guys, closer
yep.
to a linebacker, and super dynamic, speedy, big hitter, good coverage guy, everything you'd want in a defender, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I think their defense, they were leading in yards allowed. They were one of the top ones. I think we might have talked about that on Monday. How we were cross-referencing the teams that were leaders in scoring allowed and leaders in yardage allowed. And the Browns were up there. The Cowboys were up there. The Chiefs were up there. The Niners were up there for yards, but not for scoring allowed. However, it looked like our defense really showed up, maybe for the first time since week one. We played real well against the Steelers to hold them to only a TD. But that's also, the Steelers' offense is kind of anemic. So I don't know how much
And the
credence I
Cowboys,
put on that.
the Cowboys did pretty much stuff Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he 14 carries, 51 yards. But the other guy, Mason, went for 7 yards a carry, right? It's like, oh, okay.
6.9. Nice.
Well, 6.9, yeah.
It's even better.
Yeah, right?
um, yeah, Mason's a really nice player. A lot of us have been clamoring. We wanted to see more of him to end 2022. Elijah Mitchell, of course, is very injury prone. So, Justice saying she's going to stay out, still out here. Nice. DM me about the event tonight. I'm sure I won't be able to go, but at least I can try. At least I can put in the good word with the home boss. See, I always love meeting fans when they're in town. So send me the info on that, Jess. I didn't know you're in New Jersey, North South Central, because Randy's in Jersey too. There's actually quite a few Niners content creators in Jersey. Coach Yak, Jason Aponte. I don't want to list them because I'm afraid I'll forget some, but there's a bunch.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, when you live in Giants and Jets land, I mean, you got to have somebody to cheer for, right?
There you go. Well, Jess wanted to know our thoughts on Micah's. You must have missed it, Jess, but Greg read them out, and neither of us were fans of Micah's comments. You got to take your lumps. And Micah just was kind of like in denial about the whole thing. Not exactly what good leaders do. I said that I quote tweeted the tweet I saw about it and just said, "Hey, Micah, honest question: what color is the sky in your world?" Because I asked that of highly delusional people. I felt like it was a very delusional statement to say that
Yeah.
that everything's the same, and the score doesn't reflect what happened. I mean, it's just like
42 to 10 is a definitive score. It wasn't, a safety at the end of the game to pull out a 12-10 victory or anything like that. I mean, you guys were totally dominant, both sides of the football on special teams. Bottom line, the Cowboys failed to show up yet again in a game that matters and it's not so much that it matters in the standings so much as it does matter to those of us who are Cowboys fans. We don't want to see the Dallas Cowboys be embarrassed this way. And they embarrassed us yet again by not coming out and playing a good, solid game of football. They were the junior varsity squad out there.
It was definitely not the best showing for sure. I just think Kyle had a good plan to minimize Micah, who was playing hurt with a bad knee. I mean, people tried to minimize that, but Micah and CeeDee Lamb both had knee issues last week, so probably weren't 100%. Same way Debo wasn't 100% against the Cards. And I'm not going to make a ton of excuses for the Cowboys. Bad games happen, and I'm sure they'll bounce back, and I'm sure that we'll see them again in the playoffs. I very little doubt, unless they happen to run into the Eagles first.
I do not see them bouncing back this week against the Chargers, though. I really don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Austin Eckler is, he's been the number one fantasy point guy for a reason the last 2 seasons. Josh Palmer, a Canadian, has done very well replacing Mike Williams as their second option. Then you got Keenan Allen. You've got Quentin Johnson, who I think will have a coming out party against the Cowboys. I just don't see the Cowboys bouncing back from this loss. They need their bye week, and they need to get their heads put back on.
There you go. Well, that's strong words from Cowboy Greg here. Not seeing it happen. It's the charm. We'll see. I think Eckler's a hell of a back. Obviously, Keenan Allen is a great receiver. Same with Mike Williams. They have some good O-line. Joey Bosa, Derwin James. He's been out a little bit though.
He'll be back.
Derwin James is a huge difference maker for me.
Yeah.
Okay. He's I feel like he plays free safety, but I feel like he could play any position on defense except for maybe like run stuffing defensive tackle.
That's the only thing
he could play D end. Yeah, I feel like he could play D end. He could play NASCAR DT. He could play linebacker, safety, corner, nickel. I mean, the guy is so versatile and strong. He's incredible.
And I still do not understand the penalty against Jaron Curse last night. I don't understand how that was taunting.
Well, it was the taunting. The taunting was against him, but the roughing, the helmet to helmet, was against Wilson.
Yeah, but of course they said
they just called the wrong number.
First, they called the wrong number. But the taunting, I mean, he was not in McCaffrey's face. He did not do anything to McCaffrey, who was down on the ground. He just stood there. What is that a taunt for? That's not taunting. Taunting is when you get into somebody's face and you make a sign and all that other nonsense.
Right, you step to him.
Yeah. Like that was not a taunt. Like the NFL officials need their heads examined most weeks, and that was another example. Not that it had a huge outcome to the game or anything, but still, why was that a taunt? It really wasn't.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and rewatch it. I was honestly, I was kind of like live tweeting and stuff. So I just kind of took it as, and I was, on my tweet saying, "Hey, it wasn't Curse who hit the helmet to helmet. It was Wilson."
Yeah, it was Wilson.
And so I didn't really pay attention to the taunt or lack of taunt, but I'll go back and take a look for you, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's just standing there. But okay,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
but you
that's
get
that's
called for
worth checking
punching.
out. But it ended up getting declined anyway. So probably not the biggest deal in the world, but still always good to know, what people are seeing. And I'll take a look at it. We've got Steve-O Supremo in the house. What's up, Steve-O? Got Eagles fan Kylie Caperton. It's actually true. Dak player is missing. True. A Dallas player is missing. Is it actually true? A Dallas player is missing. Oh, I don't know. Something happened last night. I don't know. I'm not aware of that. Or maybe she's just griefing you a little bit on
Probably.
something serious. If there are any pushbacks that easily could have been a shootout if the momentum had shifted. Absolutely. Games turn on strange plays. It can happen very easily. And
Well,
that
and
McCaffrey,
I,
the McCaffrey fumble could have been it for sure. I
I,
was worried.
I thought when McCaffrey fumbled and Jordan Lewis took that away from him, that was going to turn things around. Not a chance. Not a hope in hell. And again, it goes the Texas Coast offense. Yeah, it has not caught on. Um, one target to Brandon Cooks for 7 yards is not the Texas Coast offense.
I saw a funny meme where they called it the Texas Toast offense because it
Well,
got
yeah,
toasted.
yeah.
I like that one. There's a lot of good memes going around. If anybody wants to check them out, I stole a bunch from Tabor Pepper. Asked whose favorite memes there were, and I grabbed a bunch of them for shows this week. A lot of my thumbnails are going to have those. Like there was one for here today. So Red Jet Shell thought you were the guy in the fireman's hat on the phone with the sunglasses. I'm like, no, no, no,
No,
that's not Greg. Go look at last week. That's Greg.
no,
I don't think
no.
he was at the game because he lives in Toronto. But Red Jet was like so excited that I got that guy. And I was like, yeah, that would be interesting. But he probably wouldn't be as good of a guest as Greg anyway. So
Pro- Probably not.
yeah, more interesting because he's more well known, but not
Yeah,
as interesting to actually speak with and have a conversation with. Plus, he's probably licking his wounds anyway. But props to Greg for coming on here. I appreciate that. Kind of agree with no taunt. Okay, Randy's with you.
yeah.
Yeah,
It,
same
it,
Randy. Okay,
it was
sounds
it
like we
was
got some
really
consensus. He
yeah. It was
flexed.
really just stupid.
McNiner says he flexed. Maybe there's some where you don't have to step to him. It's just if you do it, it's just doesn't matter if you didn't step. I guess I don't know. Like I said, I got a checks, but
Yeah.
we're 2-1. Two agree, one doesn't. Mike Parsons not built for this. He got bullied yet again. Ooh, yeah, that was last year. I mean, he even tried his different approach this year, where he was pumping us up all week instead of talking trash, and end result not much different. But like I said, I will grant Micah a little bit of excuse, fact, whatever. But I know his knee was not right. You could see him get injured in that Patriots game, and then he went out of the game for quite a bit of the second half, if I'm not mistaken. So.
He
Um,
missed most of the second quarter in that game, but um, bottom line though is everybody's dinged up by week 5, right? You're dinged up. Bottom line.
I guess, but when it's your best players like Micah Parson and CeeDee Lamb, it's a little different than if it's some role player, some
Ayuk
depth
is out there.
player.
Ayuk is out there making catches, and he's been banged up. Debo's out there making big catches. He was banged up. Don't give me the excuse of you're banged up and it's going to slow you down. No.
I never thought I'd be the one making it. Well, I guess there's a lot of Niners fans who think I'm a Cowboy apologist, but I do believe you guys have a really good team. I think the Cowboys will bounce back, and I think you guys will be there in the playoffs. So we won the battle, but the war is far from over. It doesn't matter. There were 2 flags against. Yeah, exactly. There was the roughing against Wilson, but they called them both on Curse for some reason, even though Curse didn't make the tackle.
No.
He did flex, and that's fine, but the flex after a headshot. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't think they do that though. I think it's just whatever it is. They're separate penalties on their own merits typically.
Yeah.
Whole Dallas team got bullied, bodied, and handed their egos. Yeah, it was definitely a comeuppance.
Hey, the Cowboys deserve every bit of derision that Stephen A. gave them this morning, and especially some of the Cowboys fans out there who, again, I'm not like that. You're not like that with the Niners. Um, we respect the game of football, and we respect each other's teams, right? I've said this last year to you. I'll say it again. If I got one quarterback in an all-time game, it's Joe Montana. Bottom line. Bottom line. Like, as much as that catch drove me crazy back in 81, I mean, it was a hell of a good play. Montana to Rice and all that other good sort of stuff. That's football. You take your wins and you take your losses. And I'm here because we lost. I would have been here had we won as well, but hey, we didn't. The Dallas
Why we
Cowboys.
lock them down before the game. Otherwise, because the other people I talked to didn't lock him down, I don't think I'll be hearing from him this week. We'll see. But you know,
Yeah.
the invitation is still open, folks. If you, I won't say their names because that's mean. But you know, you can just look through my YouTube lives and see who it is. It doesn't take um, a super sleuth to figure that out. Real quick, Hiroski had a good point. He said could have been a verbal taunt. So he could have just said something.
And I didn't even see him saying anything though.
Yeah,
But behind that mask, you don't know, right?
yeah, that's the thing.
But again,
so that is a good point. And then Julio almost said, Greg knew it was going to be a long night when Kittle's first two touches for TDs catches. Yeah, and actually his first three catches were for TDs, and that was all of his catches.
That was all
three
of his
catches, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Hat
Yeah.
trick. Amazing. I love the razzle dazzle play. I tweeted it out. I was like, oh man, when I watched this, the Lions run this play today, I was like, why can't we do that? I'm like, nice move.
Yes, you
pal.
can.
Nice move, Yeah.
And Shanahan was probably putting that in as he saw the Lions playing earlier. He was probably still writing things out, and yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, wow. And so we must have been working on it before the game, to have it in there. You got to practice something like that. So, no doubt. Let's see here. So Jet saying, yeah, I did. Haha. This is quality Dallas content, gentlemen. Yeah, no doubt. Greg is a great creator. That's why I've had him on a bunch of different times. We always have great chats. I always learn a lot. That was where I learned last week that this time Sunday night was the first time that these 5 starters had ever started for the Dallas Cowboys on their offensive line. Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Tyler Biotish, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. It's interesting that there's like 3 TSs, 2 Tylers,
2 Tylers.
so much name synergy on that O line. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even oh, my internet didn't like that. Hopefully you're back.
I'm here.
What else was it? Good. Okay. You know what I was going to do? I was going to do a quick commercial break. I have a new sponsor. They're the Travelstead Group. They're retail and hospitality logistics. They do transportation and warehousing, brick and mortar. They do FFE, which is fixed furniture and equipment. They also do OSE, which is operating supplies and equipment. They do new retail store openings, rollouts, relocations, decommissions. From the first mile to the final mile and everywhere in between, Travelstead has you covered. Let us know how we can help you via air, land, ocean, and land. Closed loop solutions for retail and hospitality. And they're great guys. Nick and Henry, who I work with there, are outstanding. And, when you do these types of things, moving, logistics, there's always snafus. Things always go wrong. It's great to know that they have support that's here in the States, that knows what you're going through, that is in a similar situation. You don't call them up and go, oh, my God, who am I talking to? Where are you? How could you possibly understand what I'm going through? That is not the case with Travelstead Group. So check out their website. They have a cool video. They're in my description of the show, in my YouTube in my Twitter bio. Also, Instagram and Facebook, if you follow me there, check them out and tell them Ted sent you. I appreciate it. Thanks in advance for your help on that. So, as far as other stuff going on, she said, I thought it was going to be him. What is the Texas Coast offense? A West Coast offense? Well,
yeah, well, of course, the Dallas Cowboys media types and all that other fun sort of stuff jump in and rename something, because it has to be Texas related, of course, like their Hook'em Horns, who got beat by Oklahoma on Saturday. That was a beautiful game to watch. If you love college football, that Red River
so you're an
rivalry.
Oklahoma fan?
No, I'm a Notre Dame guy, right? And of course,
that's right.
My last 2 nights were not good nights. Okay, they were not very good.
Yeah, because Notre Dame just got eliminated from the playoffs. They can't make the CFP now, unfortunately.
They won't make the CFP, and it goes back to what I predicted before the season began. It's the quarterback and the lack of number one guys in their secondary, but I've never seen coaching that poor in many years. Marcus Freeman needs to sit Gerard Parker down and oh, wait a second. You got 9 guys in the box and you're still trying to run Audric Estime up the gut? Get your head in the game and throw the football. I don't care who the receivers are. I don't care if they're freshmen. Those guys would have been wide open. But no, we don't do that. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Sorry to hear that. That's brutal. But your Blue Jays are in the playoffs, right, for baseball?
The Blue Jays were eliminated in 2 straight. Yes.
Oh gosh. Wow. So it's been a rough week for.
But the Raptors played last night back in Vancouver, which needs an NBA city again. It needs to be back in the NBA. And they beat Sacramento up pretty good.
Or a little bit south in Seattle. I'm not a Sonics fan, but I definitely liked Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. I like good defense, whether it's NFL or basketball, for sure. Randy,
I go back to the Supersonics playing the Washington Bullets 2 straight years in the NBA title games, and I mean Jack Sikma, Dennis Johnson, downtown Freddie Brown, those guys in Seattle were phenomenal.
That's definitely before I was a big basketball fan. I watched Showtime Lakers. I was a Warriors fan, but the Warriors were out of it, so I would bandwagon. For the playoffs, I would bandwagon with the Showtime Lakers, the Michael Jordan Bulls, that kind of thing, until the Warriors finally got good, and I could actually watch them in the postseason, which was pretty crazy. So Randy was saying someone was saying CeeDee Lamb was slow. Was there a reason? Yeah, CeeDee Lamb had a knee injury against the Patriots. So did Micah Parsons. So they were both on the injury designation during the week. They came off, but it was pretty widely assumed that they weren't 100% for the game, and I think that showed.
And dear NFL fans, when you see a practice report on a Wednesday full of veterans who are off, it's a Veterans Day off, okay? Don't panic. It's just the Vets Day off. It just boggles my mind every Wednesday when I see these guys saying that this one's out and that one's out. It's a Veterans Day off, guys.
Randy says, are we getting McFlinchy back? That's Mike McGlinchey. No, he's too expensive, Randy. And I don't think that McKivitz is much worse. I think McKivitz is about the same, maybe a little better as a pass blocker, and clearly not as good of a run blocker. But McGlinchey has a $17 million contract. There's no way we're going to absorb that for that player when we got McKivitz for I think he's like $2.25 million a year or something ridiculously low like that.
Exactly.
So, I always say you don't have to be better to be a better value. So
no, exactly. I mean, it's just like the Cowboys still paying Tyron Smith all these years, 8 straight years of being out with injuries now, 8 straight. But hey, when he is out there, he is a damn solid left tackle.
So James Bernal, a lot of people on the timeline give me grief, call me a Cowboys fan. I'm like, hey, I hate the Cowboys, but I'll be honest about them. And my honest opinion was I thought they were going to give us a hell of a game. If we play again, I'd probably say the same thing. So I think that, we got the best of them last night. I don't know that I would bet on a similar outcome if we were to play even again this coming Sunday. I think it would probably take a little longer for the Cowboys to get their feet back under them, but I have no doubt that they will.
Well, they need their bye week after their second visit to California on Monday night.
Randy says Jimmy G will be dropped soon. Add Jimmy and drop Sam. As much as I don't like Sam Darnold, I really don't want Jimmy G
No.
back. I would rather have Jimmy G as a QB in general, like if Purdy was to get injured, but I just don't want him in the building. I don't want the drama. I don't want the division. I don't think we could ever bring him back. I just don't think that, even if Sam's much worse. I guess if Purdy's out for the year and Sam Darnold's stinking it up, okay, fine, bring Jimmy back, but not prior to Brock being done, like, a major
And
injury that he's not coming
Jimmy
back.
G is not going to be leaving Las Vegas. Sorry, guys. He's just not.
He seems to be pretty happy there. He says the pizza's better. Have you ever had pizza in Vegas? I don't even know what pizza's like in Vegas.
No, I've never had it. I've never had
pretty good in San Francisco, so I thought that was a weird statement.
Yeah, I've never had any pizza in Vegas on the numerous times I've been there.
Hiroski wants to know how sold I am on Brock Purdy. Well, I think I was saying earlier, I think he's 6-9 in the league. I think so that means franchise QB to me. Top 10 is franchise, like top 5 is elite. So Randy Daytona likes to say elite. I'm still not quite there, Randy, but I mean, if this keeps up, I'll say elite soon. I mean, like I said, I went from 11-15 after the Giants to 8-12 after the Cards to 6-9 after the Cowboys. Like, the number's dropping on a weekly basis. I mean, because he just keeps getting better and better and better. That's the thing. It's not like I was totally wrong this summer. I know what I saw in camp. It did not look good. I know what I saw in 2022. It looked pretty good. And it looked pretty good at the beginning of the season, but it's looked really good since like this halftime or, maybe halfway through the third quarter against the Giants, like all the whole Cards game and all the whole Cowboys game. So how sold? I'm pretty sold. I mean, I still want to see, against like the Browns have a really good defense this week. The Eagles have a really good defense. Maybe
you get the Browns.
Bengals,
you get the Browns and the
Bengals
Bengals
offensively. I want to see against better, in closer games. I want to see him comebacks and stuff like that. But he's really good. He's really good. He's. I mean, he's not mid. He's not just good. He's real good. I'm not gonna say great yet, but getting there. I mean, he can be, and if this keeps up, I'll have to say it. So
even in his post game presser last night, when you saw him immediately process the guys' names, immediately, he did not hesitate, and that's something that doesn't come out through an SQ2 test. CJ Stroud was not going to be a great quarterback because he flunked the SQ2 test. Nonsense. All this stuff that everybody talks about these quarterbacks is pretty much nonsense. When you have an offensive line in front of you, when you have the weapons that he has to deal with, he is sharing that football the right way, the way that a team should be operating, because he's not focused on Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews as Lamar Jackson has to. He's not focused on just one receiver. He's making sure that everybody is involved in this game. That is a true quarterback.
Yeah, and some people, Terradome, who actually I met, he was out at that event on Saturday. Terradome, Mose Knows, in addition to John Chapman and Breezy, the creators I mentioned. And he and I were arguing over the summer about Purdy, and he said Purdy was like Curry. And I said, I see him more like Chris Paul. But, if Purdy can keep hitting these deep balls, yeah, I might have to go with the Curry, the Steph Curry analogy. it's he's in between for me right now. I still think
Yeah.
Chris Paul is a better one because of the mid range, but boy, he's starting to hit some nice deep balls too. So keep it up, Brock. Make me call you Steph Curry. Nothing would make me happier.
There's
Um,
nothing wrong with 252 yards passing and 4 TDs. Bottom line, right?
no, and 144 passer rating. No doubt. Randy says I was sold week 15 of last season. Don't agree. Go watch it again. That was in Seattle.
Yeah.
First time we had won up there since 2019. The first time we had swept Seattle since like 2011. Big game. Yeah, that's when Kyle was sold. Was week 15 of 2022. I had to look it up. I have my handy dandy Niners magnet schedule. I've got one here under my monitor for 2023, but I'd let 2022 fall by the wayside. Luckily, I didn't check it because it's helpful in those types of situations not to have to look something up on the internet. Um, Julio says only a quarter season, but San Francisco 49ers have to watch out injuries. They're key players. Yeah, we've been very lucky with injuries. We've only lost Ayuk for a game. He
Yeah.
played the whole Rams game, but he was definitely injured in the second half. Yeah, we haven't missed much in the way of players. I think Dre missed a little bit. But yeah, now Banks. Banks is the big news. We should find out in about 10 minutes on that one.
Yeah.
So James says, I wasn't sold until last week. I thought he was a good replacement for Jimmy, but I wanted more. Turns out Purdy is more. He is more. Yes, you're right, James. And that's like I'm falling on my sword and saying I was wrong, but part of me is sort of like, well, I wasn't really that wrong. He's just making me wrong now, and that's fine. He's making my old statement wrong, but I haven't said he was mid since before the Giants game, and mid was probably the wrong word to use because it's kind of got a negative connotation, kind of like mediocre. They both mean middle, average, middle of the road.
Yeah.
But mediocre and mid have this sort of worse connotation. It's almost like below average.
Yeah,
So
and
that's kind of
especially in our online world today, if you use something that's in the middle like that, you're gonna hear from one side.
But I was explaining to somebody today, like if you call a rookie quarterback average, that's actually high praise. It's actually really good for a rookie quarterback. Like most rookie QBs are not mid. Lance has not proven that he's mid yet. So
No.
Rob D in the house says, what I said, Cowboys plan until the Niners punch him in the mouth. How to plan. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of similar statement. We've heard that before. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Absolutely. Nancy here, Cameron in the house says, hello, Ted. Amazing game yesterday. Yeah, it was a statement game. The offense was humming. The defense was locked down, shut down, and even special teams played really well. They had some nice punts, and it was about as close to perfect as you'll see. Starting to remind me of kind of like the 94 49ers a little bit, with Steve Young and Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Brent Jones and Bar Nunn and Ricky Waters and Dion and so many great players on that team. I don't know.
Yeah.
Starting to get that feeling. And also, I think Hargrave. I mean, I've been saying all along how I thought Hargrave would be a big addition for us, and he sure seems to be working out that way.
He was awesome against the run last night.
Yeah, I think we had Gary Plummer back then, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And maybe we might have had Ken Norton Jr. too. Was that 94? I think it was. Ex-Cowboy. You guys got Haley from us, and we got Ken Norton from you.
Yeah.
I think that's about right. So there's Plummer and Norton, I think, were our linebackers.
Okay, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Like you guys are the San Francisco 49ers, folks. It's the Dallas Cowboys. They're not the Cowgirls. They're not Cow Pies. They're the Cowboys. Bottom line.
Keep it civil, folks.
Yeah.
What if Broncos paid his salary too? That's just McGlinchey. I guess if they pay his salary, but I just still don't think he's that much of an upgrade over McKivitz. I'd rather just keep moving. I mean, if McKivitz got injured, sure. Yard sale. Yeah, the Broncos, the one I want is Pat Surtain the second. that could be our Dion if we're making 94 comparisons. Very nice that Greg is joining us today. Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah. He's
Not no problem, Nancy.
he's a man of his word, and he said he'd be here. We did the show at 1:00 last Monday, and right at the end I said, "Hey, can we do it again?" He said, "Yep, same time next week." And sure enough, here he is. So a lot of the other folks I spoke with last week haven't committed. I'll probably reach back out to them and just ping them one more time, but I don't imagine many of them are going to commit after the game if they weren't ready to commit before the game. So I think they probably had a feeling what might happen. Broski says 31-20 was my prediction. I was way off. Not as much as me. I was 24-21.
Yeah.
Way off. Red Jet says, I think in all honesty, Dallas will come back, just not against us. I think we seem to have their number, but you just never know in this game. Strange things can happen. Momentum,
Exactly.
any given Sunday.
Look at the pandemic year. Cowboys thumped you guys. I mean, it was just a beatdown, right?
Well, and Law Nation was on with Ryan G. Hensley this morning, and he was bringing up how we beat the Rams 31-10 in 2021, and Stafford had a couple terrible interceptions, including a pick six, both to Jimmy Ward, and then we beat them week 18 to get into the playoffs, and then like I said, we won the battle, but the war is not over until we take 6. Really, for me, I don't know if the Cowboys come back from that. We broke their psyche. I don't know. We'll see. TBD. Things like that could. I just think these guys are pros. I think they'll be back.
They'll return after their bye week. They'll play better after their bye week. They get the Rams first, and then we go to Philadelphia. And trust me, the Dallas Cowboys.
But Dak kind of owns the Eagles, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's 8-3 against the Eagles. So
yeah, it's almost like our ownage of the Rams. Exactly.
Yeah.
Jimmy won't only leave Vegas on a stretcher. It won't be long before he's sidelined again. Yeah, I mean,
he's already had
if you're betting for Jimmy to stay healthy, I would say don't bet your rent money.
Oh, exactly, right? But again,
same thing with Elijah Mitchell for us.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes without saying, Tyron Smith yet again for the Cowboys was out again. I mean, some guys make millions of dollars and they spend more time in the training table than out in the field.
There you go. Randy says I would want to play in Vegas. They have a nice stadium and it's indoor and it's grass. I mean, those are two things. I mean, because that's the one my big knock against indoor stadiums is they typically don't have natural grass, but obviously the Cardinals and the Raiders both have that.
The Cowboys are going to be forced to have it, as is a couple of other places that have the World Cup coming.
Oh, nice.
Because of the World Cup will not let them play on artificial turf, right?
God bless them. No one should. That stuff is terrible. It's awful. Just say no to James Richard Garoppolo. Yes, I said no while he was still here. Why wouldn't I now? And now, to be fair, people go, well, you should always root for your team. I'm like, yeah, I rooted for him every Sunday, or game day. But like the other 6 days a week, it depends on how you did. That's how much I root for you. So we'll see. Jimmy Trash Can. Garbageopolo. Ted, can you do a live watch party week 15 last season, or is that illegal? How do I do?
You can't.
Oh, you mean like
you can't do that.
Yeah. I did some live shows. I did one of the Dolphins game before when Jimmy got injured.
Yeah.
And I almost turned it off. So I was doing it by myself and Jimmy got injured and I was just like, man, do I even want to watch this game? And does anybody want to watch me watch this game? And I just sort of talked myself in and I was like, well, Purdy's athletic and he's accurate and he sure didn't have all these weapons, in the off season when he was playing with the third string. Maybe he could win us a game. And I talked myself into it and I'm glad I did because it was a great game and ushered in the Brock Purdy experience. Should have known then when he beat all those blitzes that there was greatness in that kid. But I was slow to admit it. That I will still say he has limited arm, limited height, and limited top speed. But it's starting to look like it doesn't matter. It's starting to look like it just doesn't matter.
But you know what he did have? 48 career starts at Iowa State.
That's right, Cyclones.
And you play at Iowa State, you play some pretty big stadiums, you play some pretty tough opponents. Brock Purdy got tested. And he passed that test at Iowa State.
Yeah, he's definitely passing the test now with flying colors. He's doing stuff that's never been done before. It's pretty amazing. In fact, I don't know if it's real or not, but I saw something before we went live. There was somebody had tweeted out. It's on my timeline if anybody wants to check it out. But there was a JPA football. Oh, never mind. All right. I need to delete this. Let me just delete it. Because I was like, JPA football tweeted this thing out, and then I look at the and it was a 49er fan pretending to be JPA football. He basically was saying that Taylor Swift had reached out to him, and he was like, "Stop being so thirsty." I'm like, "Good for you, Brock." I'm like, oh, got me.
Yeah.
Not real. Not real. And I was thinking to myself, she's probably a little tall for him anyway, because I think she's the full 6'1", and he's only 6'1.5". So that'd be tough, especially if she put on heels.
On a Sunday night game, I do not have the volume on because I cannot stand Chris colonoscopy.
Ouch.
Okay.
Collinsworth?
Yeah, I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. He's a pretty big Niner hater. That's for sure.
Well,
I mean, can you blame him though? We beat him twice in the Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah. He takes his frustrations out, but apparently he was very glowing about the two linebackers for the Niners last night. So at least he was lucid enough to admit, that Mr. Warner and Mr. Greenlaw played one hell of a great game.
They were amazing as always. The two best linebackers in football for sure. Steven, don't bother me, says Banks is day to day, so that's really good news.
Yeah,
so he might even play this weekend in Cleveland. So that's amazing. Hopefully they rest him just to be sure.
Who do you have after Cleveland? Is it Cincinnati?
No, it's the Vikings, then the Cincinnati Bengals. Then we have our bye week 9. And then we have the Jags, which is, I think, going to be a really tough game, especially since they just beat the Bills in London. Then we have the Bucks, who I don't believe in, but I mean, Baker seems to be doing good things, at least for now. I got to give him some credit. Then we have week 12. This is our tough stretch. We got Seahawks at Seahawks on November 23rd for Thanksgiving. Then we have Eagles, obviously at Eagles at the Link. That's December 3rd. And then Seahawks again, December 10th here at Levi's. That's a really tough stretch. Then Cards, Ravens. That's one too. Ravens was one of the ones Christmas Day that was a fader pick for me because we're negative 20 rest days this season, which is the worst in the league, and they're +9. So by that point, they will have gotten pretty close to 29 more rest days than us. At least over 25, you can probably say is a safe bet, which is a ton in only 2.5, 3 months. So under 3 months at least. So let's see, September, October. Under 4 months. Anyway, that was one where I probably would have picked us, and I'm not so sure we can beat the Ravens. I mean, we can, but I'm not so sure that we will. They have a really good defense. Mobile QBs always give us hell, and Lamar is probably the most mobile QB, if not him, Justin Fields, right?
His receivers don't know how to catch a football, though. They just don't.
That's a small problem, but Mark Andrews is a hell of a tight end.
Yeah, but
they got a great run game.
I mean, that pass yesterday that he threw to Aguilar down the sideline was picture perfect, and you see Aguilar's hands so far apart, and you just go, "Oh no, no!" and right through them, right through his hands, right? And it's just like, okay, that was sick. That was just
I
sick.
mean, that's part of the reason why I'm crowning Brock too. It's not just the game against the Cowboys that happened. It's it's other games that have happened that sort of lead me to believe that like the Rams are playing pretty well. The Steelers beat the Ravens, you know, and I was discounting them week one.
Did you watch the Rams versus the Eagles yesterday?
Not a lot of it.
Oh, Stafford just missed Tutu Atwell with a rocket. I mean, and it would have gone for six. It would have gone for six. And that poor little Tutu Atwell just could not catch that football. And it would have been so much fun to see the Eagles fans suffering that one. It would have been so much fun. But
I hear you. I watched a lot of the Jags and Bills early, and then I had daddy duties. So like, you know,
yeah,
so like my wife has the little guy who was just born about 3 weeks ago today, actually 3 weeks ago today, and then I'm, you know, man up against our first son, who's coming. He'll be 4 in January, and so yeah, trying to remember the other games I watched. I think I watched a lot of Red Zone, and so you don't really see a
yeah.
lot of everything going on. But I did try to focus on that Ravens Pittsburgh game, but I didn't. You know, I missed the one you're talking about to Aguilar, unfortunately.
Oh, it was such a beautiful throw too. I mean, and people always say that Lamar Jackson can't do this and can't do that. Again, they want to put a quarterback down for no particular reason other than he's Lamar Jackson apparently. But when your receivers just cannot catch a football, it is just sick. You just feel so bad for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean they've been so snake bit with. I gotta get rid of this. Sorry, there's some adult chat here. They're gone. And he says, "Oh, I'm an adult." I don't know. It's debatable, Randy. I'm just kidding. You're great, Randy. Speaking of Randy, he's the one who helped me come up with the name for my 3 o'clock show today that I do with Pete Burge, who goes by Pedro. And so now the show is going to be called I Vote Ted for Pedro, and I got the overlay, and I'm busting it out today at 3. So Randy, make sure you stop by to check it out. You are to blame or to thank, whatever, however you want to look at it, for that. So he's amazing. Trying to catch up here a little bit on the chats. Yeah, as far as games yesterday, let me take just a quick look at if there's anything intelligent I could add to any of those. Yeah, obviously I was surprised that the Bills lost to the Jags. Not that surprised though, because I felt like the Jags were an up and coming team, and their defense is really good. And anytime Josh Allen leads the team in rushing, I'm always like, oh, that was the excuse I made for him against the Jets. And then, of
Well,
course, James Cook came along. He was like almost up with CMC for a minute. And then now again, he's leading the Bills in rushing. He also made some mistakes.
yep.
Um, but he also played well some too. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like he only has one really elite weapon in Diggs. I like Gabe Davis is nice. And
Well, I
um,
didn't hear about Von Miller yesterday, but
he
losing
was
Matt.
supposed to be back, but Matt Milano went down early.
Yeah,
They had a
and
bunch of
it's a
guys on
fractured
defense.
it's a fractured leg, but his knee is also messed up, so he's probably gone for the year.
Matt
That'll
Milano.
yeah, that is gonna
Oh,
hurt. That is gonna hurt them
yeah, that's huge.
After losing White the week before for the season. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
they're in trouble.
yeah, no doubt about it. And then
And
it was interesting.
Randy, I don't see the Niners losing to the Eagles this year. I'm
Oh, I love
sorry.
it.
I don't.
You don't have
No.
to apologize.
No. There's the Eagles have been very, very fortunate because again they haven't played anybody yet.
No, I agree. They are sort of a paper tiger, I would say. That's why I had you guys ranked ahead of them coming into this game. I'm definitely putting the Eagles back up higher. But it's really hard to say where all these teams are. I mean, I guess you just got to go off the 5-0 a little bit. But like you said, it's hard when they haven't played so many good teams.
Yeah.
Randy says, I think we have a super tough game against the Jags after the bye, East Coast, in the early game. Yep, absolutely. He's giving you
No,
grief
it's Chris
because
colonoscopy, okay? Trust me.
turnabout's always fair play. I always like that. That's funny. Uh, all right, Red Jets with you there. Too bad. It'd be fun to watch. Why does NFL care? Game is old. No fun league.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
yeah, he's saying if I was you
yeah,
can't televise any games on your
right.
show. Even if you're watching the game yourself and the
Yeah,
screen isn't in view, you have to be careful to turn the volume down so the audio doesn't
yeah.
transmit either. The NFL is very particular about the channels in which its product is disseminated, and
Try.
YouTube streams are not
Yeah,
one that is a highly
yeah. I mean,
like
you
they
can
don't enjoy that. I'll just
no, exactly. I mean, and that's getting into the whole legalities of everything else, and you just don't need that bother.
Red Jet says you can. I don't know. I'm not going to risk it. I worry about even showing the wrong pictures and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
so once
yeah,
I paid the
exactly.
importance of my team's record means very little. Seems like we avoided major injury. Just saw the report. Yeah, it seems like it. If Banks is day to day, that was the only one I was real worried about. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Pandemic year, we were down here the whole team. Let's keep it real, all the way real, right? Yeah, that was a brutal year, and
Well,
that's why I've said like,
Cowboys weren't healthy either. The Cowboys were not healthy in that game either.
no,
Neither
no,
team.
that's true. But
Neither
that was
team
the
was.
game. That was in Jerry's world, and that was the game where Nick Mullins
Yeah,
got hit by DeMarcus Lawrence and had
yeah.
his UCL torn same way, almost the exact same way that Purdy did by Hassan
Purdy.
Reddick.
Yeah,
There's a part of me that just says like, this is why it's important to get the home field advantage. Like I always was like, I'd rather be healthy, rested, and hot going into the playoffs than have the higher seed and be banged up or tired or. But those two
yeah.
games are good reminders to me of like why you don't want to be on the road, because I think when someone on the right edge of the line gets beat, they yell fire. The QB looks over, they see the pass rush coming, and they act accordingly. But in those loud away environments, they yell fire. The QB doesn't hear them, and he keeps his eyes downfield. And both times our quarterbacks got UCL tears from it.
Oh, but see, that
Um,
doesn't happen when you come to Dallas, though, because the AT&T Stadium isn't loud. It has the biggest fan base, but it's not loud because Jerry, of course, he doesn't like a lot of noise apparently, and just because you got the most fans doesn't mean you make the most noise. Jerry, you old addled-minded moron. Yeah.
well, that's what you really think, Greg. Don't hold back.
Well, when it comes to Jerry Jones, I hold nothing back. When it comes to my distaste for the guy.
There usually are a lot of Niner fans at those games too. I've seen quite a bit of red
Yep.
in the stands. We won. No need to kick a lad while he's down. Absolutely. No, that's not the purpose of today. They didn't like the Cowboys last night. It looked like
No,
yeah, they didn't.
They didn't. They didn't play. They didn't play a down worth of good offense at all, except for the one pass to Turpin, and the one play to Pollard in the fourth quarter. Those were the only two good plays that they had offensively. I mean, they only had 8 first downs, I think, for the whole game.
That's crazy.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we only missed during the COVID year. Yeah, we had the worst injuries in 2012, 2020 since any team since 2012. It was pretty wild. I think we had 100 million on IR, and I think the salary cap was only about 160 or 170 back then.
And in
So
2021, it was the Cowboys' turn.
yeah, it's brutal.
I mean, that's
We can do a Toy Story version of Week
version of Week
15.
15.
I bet we could. I bet we could, Randy. You get me the version, and I'll do the. We could. I'll have you on. We could do the breakdown together. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So Ted, where do you put Purdy now? I'm just coming in. Oh, hey Alberto. I've been saying between 6 and 9. I was 11 to 15 after the Giants, 8 to 12 after the Cards. I think between 6 and 9. Now Greg here said number 8.
Yeah.
So he's kind of agreeing with me there. Don't usually do single numbers because those things aren't exact. It's hard to do. When you don't play the same teams, you don't play with the same weapons, you don't play the same coaching, so it's a little bit difficult to compare. But that's sort of so I usually give like a range to give a little margin for error. Chris the Viking, is he a Viking? I thought. Well, I mean, he was a Bengal when he played, and maybe he means Chris, that other announcer, not Collinsworth, but
Chris Carter.
I'm blanking on his name.
Chris Carter's the only Vikings.
All he does is catch touchdowns. I remember him. He was great. Maybe I'm thinking of I don't know. Well, I think we've kind of covered everything here.
I don't see you guys losing to the Eagles. I'm sorry, I just don't. I just you guys.
So do you see us running the table then, or do you think we'll just lose to somebody you don't expect?
I think your trouble comes when you face Seattle. I really like the way that the Seahawks are playing football.
Devin Witherspoon looks like a stud. Woolen's a stud.
Woolen, Mafe up front.
Lockett.
Smith and Jigba.
They already had Nwosu too, who just got a big deal.
Yeah.
They got Bobby Wagner back.
Yep. And
Jason, I don't feel like has done that much, but by that time of the season, he might be more broken in. So we'll see. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I wrote an article. I wrote an article about Seattle for the preseason over at Team MBS, and I just basically said, I mean, to make the playoffs last year with those 2 rookie tackles, that was unbelievable. And now they're winning with both these guys out. Cross and Lucas have been out. They'll be back.
Yeah, but they're good.
They're beating teams. I mean, they're not handing anybody a cupcake game at all. So I really like what Seattle's doing.
But they did just have a bye, so we didn't really get to see them play this week.
Yeah.
And the last game was the Giants. Come on, it's the Giants. So
yeah.
We'll see. But I mean, I had them as being number 2 in the West, and I had us as being maybe just a game or 2 or 3 better. So this is shaping up kind of the way I thought it would.
If you guys are healthy and you're playing the Eagles, the Niners are going to beat the Eagles. Bottom line.
Yeah, I think they're secondary. They're missing C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They're missing all those linebackers they let go. Hargrave. I know that Jalen Carter is a stud for a rookie, but he is a rookie. And they're missing they're missing Steichen. They're missing Gannon. Yeah, and their offense just hasn't quite looked the same to me. But I did think Hurts looked pretty good. He made some nice throws on the run.
You have to hold AJ Brown down. I mean, that's
Goddard and Devonta Smith. Yeah, they got some weapons. I was saying like Purdy has the cushiest gig in the NFL of any NFL QB, but I said Tua and Hurts are pretty close. So. Yeah. I just think that Tua doesn't have much of a defense, and I guess Hurts doesn't have quite as good of a defense either. So, yeah.
No.
Interesting. No. But he does have the better O-line. Hurts does.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool. And I think we've covered most everything here. I don't want to keep you too long on a Monday. I just want to say thanks again for stopping by. Make sure you follow at Greg Cowboys on Twitter. And he's also on teamnbsmedia.com.
I only have five.
That's where he
I
writes
only have five
articles.
articles
And
that are coming out probably tomorrow. Four of them
nice, nice.
sports related. I'll have the Chargers versus Cowboys preview. I'll have my instant reaction last night to the game. The Notre Dame preview article. I did another article about the Blue Jays. Atkins doing a press conference on the Saturday of a long weekend. That tells you a lot. And then I wrote an article about a TV series that I've been watching on Amazon since all the new stuff is not available to us. It was Bosch. Have you ever seen that?
Ah, interesting.
He's a
No,
cop.
what's it about?
He plays an LA police
Okay.
detective, and it's just like, wow, holy mother God! What this guy's gone through in his own private life, and then everything he deals with as his cop. It's really an interesting show. So I did an article about that as well.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
So multifaceted, not just Cowboys, but Notre Dame, Blue Jays, and even TV shows. Awesome.
yeah.
Real quick, Alberto Soto was saying, so you guys saying he's better than Dak. I said it before the game that Purdy is better than Dak, and nothing that happened in the game changed my mind. So yeah, we both say that Brock's better than Dak.
I will. I wrote about this. Dak Prescott, I've stood by you through thick and thin, but after last night's game, I'm sorry, you are not going to be taking the Dallas Cowboys to any Super Bowl. You need to go. Even if it costs us under the cap next year, 59.4 million, I get it. But Dak Prescott has got to leave Dallas. He has got to go.
Wow, we buried the lead here. We should have had that on sooner. Um, so then the obvious question is, do you think we'll see Trey Lance this season?
If Dak gets injured, there's a possibility, right?
All right.
And of course, he did have his middle finger taped up last night on his throwing hand.
I didn't
Apparently,
know that.
yeah, no, they showed him on that one series getting his middle finger taped up to his index finger there, and so who knows? Um, and we'll see what Trey Lance can do if he does play quarterback for the Cowboys. So we'll see.
Interesting. I mean, obviously Cooper Rush would probably be next because
Yeah,
Dak. I mean, because Trey missed all of camp and most of the
yeah.
preseason too. Hard to leapfrog that, but maybe next season was sort of what I was thinking.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Rob says NYC Niner Empire. Well, go ahead. You were going to say something. I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
NYC Niner Empire was awesome last night. Had a fan from London and fans call from San Francisco. A fan said New York City 49ers represent 49ers better than in Cali. Ooh, and some fighting words. I know, Rob D.
ah,
Ouch.
ah.
Ouch.
Trust me, the best Cowboys fans I know do not live in Dallas.
There you go. Interesting. Randy says trade Dak to the Jets. I mean, there's definitely a lot of great Niners fans outside of the Bay Area. There's no doubt about that. I just don't know if they're better, but sheesh. I mean, I guess it shows more commitment to get here if you got to hop on a plane to do it. That's for damn sure. I mean, Levi's is like a 20-minute drive for me without traffic. So that's definitely easier than most folks have it. So start Trey. I can't root for Trey as long as he's a Cowboy. So I just can't do it. There's the excuse. Everybody's just waiting for it. Dak hurts the team more than what it would be if you start Trey. Yeah, I mean, I believe in Trey more than I believe in Dak, especially with some reps. I think he just needs reps, and I think he's going to
Yeah,
be even Larry Krueger, who gave me all this grief about being wrong about Brock. He's saying he thinks long term that Trey is going to be a very good to great quarterback in this league. I think so too. I just think it might be sooner than long term. I think it might be a year or two.
yeah.
But we'll see.
And again, Trey Lance only started 13 games at North Dakota State.
17, but yeah, and then
Well,
only
yeah,
less than 5, with the Niners. So yeah,
exactly.
20 games total.
Yeah,
It's pretty crazy compared to 48 for Purdy in college, and now
yeah.
13, 12, 10 regular and 3 postseason. here for the Niners. So almost
Yeah.
60 or 61. Well, Greg, thanks a lot for stopping by again. You're a man of your word.
No worries.
Your team didn't show up, but you sure
Come, come,
did.
come January, we'll see each other again. I
I
believe
have
that
no
we'll see
doubt.
each other again, and we'll have another conversation about the Cowboys and Niners playing each other in the playoffs again.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait for that. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm sure it'll be a much better game next time. And I do believe in your Cowboys are one of the better teams in the NFC and the NFL. So I will be looking for them to bounce back, and I have every expectation that you will. Your team will. Thanks. I just real quick want to say, no dig at Cali fans is just saying, great, yeah, no dig. I understand, it's fine. And then also, Riddy Music Niners, welcome. We're just wrapping up though, Riddy. So catch me at 3. We're gonna have the debut of the I Voted for Pedro show with me and Pedro Pete Burge from Australia. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Everybody be sure to be there. Thanks, everyone. I'll say peace and go Niners. And you want to give us a how about them Cowboys?
Well, how about those Cowboys? Yeah, how about them?
Attaboy, Greg. Thanks again for coming on.
No worries.